Hey, what's up guys? Alex here, back with another video for the World Hotel Championship 2024. So this one is round 8. So round 8 is actually the first game of day 2. So usually when people kind of come into day 2 fresh out of day 1, especially if you have 4 out of 7 or 5 out of 7, you're still kind of hanging on the hopes of getting into the semifinals. So you would usually just kind of push early on. So usually getting into day 2, I think usually the first 2 games always seems to be the most challenging for me. And then in the last few games, you tend to probably meet opponents that might have, become pretty tired, or they've given up hopes of entering semifinals. So I tend to think that day 2 after lunch, unless they are pushing for the team tournament championships, usually there could be some people who get tired. So it's kind of easy to kind of claim the last few wins if you just put in effort to kind of focus a little bit more. Okay, so my opponent is Ivan Gutorov from Russia. So basically, I knew that on day 1 that he's beaten my brother, and my brother is pretty much on par in terms of my playing level. So I wouldn't kind of, and I've played him online pretty much a lot of times, and I know that he's extremely creative out of book. So my strategy here was to actually try to use a book that I was familiar with, which I decided to kind of go with the Shaman opening, the same one that I used to beat Tomita Yo. So I started with e6 and then followed by him playing f4, and then I played e3. And of course, I think we've played a few times, and he's aware that I'm pretty comfortable with playing the Shaman opening. So I think he over here, after I played c5, to just kind of wait for f3 to happen so that I can do c6 to start off the Shaman sequence. He actually decided to kind of do a variation early on to c4. Hoping to kind of move into the other way so that we don't go into the Shaman opening. So thereafter, I just decided to centralize with f5, and then he played e7 moves. So I think throughout the game, he's played pretty well, just kind of centralizing. So both sides were just exchanging, basically like centralizing group small inside kind of moves. So basically cutting b4 creates d4 access to kind of future f6, and he defends f6. And over here, I just kind of decide to regroup in a compact way to b3, and just kind of wait for either e2 to happen or b5 to happen so that he can get either one of these discs on e4 to create access to c6, or to get d5 to create access to f3. So in the end, he decided to go to e2, which I think, it's a pretty strong move. And at the same time, I need to kind of think about preventing c6 from happening. So a few approaches. Of course, the first one, we always talk about prevention. So prevention would probably mean playing f3 to kind of remove e4 disc. And then just kind of taking the move itself is not an option for me since I can't take the move. And then poisoning the move is also probably not that great. The only poison move here is e7. And then, of course, working around it is, another option is to just kind of go like f1 and allow him to take c6, and then maybe I'll just go f2, and then he'll take maybe somewhere b5, and then we'll just do kind of a rotation move. So yeah, in the end, I decided that I'll just do a prevention move, because I think f3, and then maybe he plays g4 to kind of re-establish f3 to access c6. And then thereafter, it kind of opens up a few more moves options for me over here. So over here, I decided, just to kind of visualize a few moves ahead. I thought g3, f2 is quite a normal response. So g3, f2 to kind of exchange centralizing moves, and then followed by h4, and then he'll go to c6 because he'll still have the f3 disc after that exchange of g3, f2, and then thereafter I'll go into maybe g5, and then g6, h7, and then thereafter I kind of pass off the move to him to play. So that's the general idea that went into deciding that sequence. So thereafter, I think we did play out the sequence. I think this sequence actually wasn't too great for me. I think I was at a slight disadvantage after this exchange, even though it does look nice. There were ways that White could possibly exploit this one. But in the end, he played, instead of kind of doing an expected b5 to intersect, he decided to go with d2, which I think might have been the best, or the top few moves for sure. So he wanted me to kind of go to c2 so that he can come to b5. So I thought it would be b5, but I was very surprised when he did b6. And then thereafter, I thought that, okay, maybe he wants me to go into b5 so that he can go kind of wrap around to c1 and then give me problems. So b5, c1. I thought that that would work out for me in a way. If he went to c1, I'll probably do something like this, and then it would end up like such a sequence potentially. And maybe it could go like this perhaps, or this and this, followed by maybe this. That could probably be a standard response. I kind of wait for him to chase after this tempo. If he goes here, so maybe something like that might ensue. Yeah, this could be a possible sequence. But basically he surprised me again by not taking c1 over here, and he went over to a4, which I was kind of surprised. And thereafter I did take some time to kind of think about it, which in the end the reason why I went with c1, let me see, if I went to a4, he could either just capture a3 and then it would be difficult for me, or he could just feed over here to the unbalanced edge and I'll probably exchange edges here. And if he goes here, then I'll probably have a problem trying to look for one more move, maybe grab the edge, or maybe f7 or e8 are top choices. So over here, I thought that, maybe I shouldn't respond that way. And at the same time, when he split out the disc over here, the original c1 move that I thought was good for him, he actually segregated it into a couple of moves. So I did want to kind of defend c1 first, thinking that if he plays e1, then maybe I could defend it this way perhaps, or I could probably go f1 since it's a square swindle. So over here, these are options that I could play. And if he just kind of went in, then I could simply play this, maybe this, or maybe jump into the center and target this. So interestingly, what happened was he played a6 to kind of regroup, which is, I guess, a strong move. Yeah, I think both sides weren't playing perfect, to say the least. So it was kind of like a dogfight out there. So I just wanted to play like an obvious move to a4, just feed off the edge. And thereafter, he went to d1 quickly. So over here, interestingly, he almost wanted to play e1, which I think e1 is probably more favorable instead of immediately jumping to d1. So the interesting thing that happened was that I think Ivan, he basically just used his finger to press on d1 a little too quickly. Or he's dropped his disc there. His disc had contact with the board. So he was really an honorable player, given that he didn't want to play that, but eventually he kind of touched the square a little too fast with his disc without thinking. And when he wanted to retry, he kind of he just honored his touch move, because in Othello the touch move is basically when you kind of come into contact into any legal square instead of chess. When you touch a piece, because there isn't any piece on the board to begin with. So if you touch the square, that you're committed to kind of play the move. So when he touched d1, he realized his mistake, and then he decided that he would honor the move. So Ivan, a very honorable player for sure. And once he played d1, it was pretty clear that he's formed a top left 5 square region. So that pretty much closes up the parity and allows black, myself, to kind of immediately just jump into b2 to give up the corner at the same time to secure maybe a parity region. So even if white did this, I could just simply go to a2 and just kind of lock down a parity and force him to the right edge. And of course, if he just went with the corner, I could go with this and having a 2-disc edge, even if he did this, or and I could still do this, or if he did this, I could still kind of intersect and secure the edge and kind of push him to the right edge as well. So after securing that shape, I think he realized he couldn't really get the parity back in that region. So the kind of general intention of c1 is to kind of set up for such a scenario. So that's it probably worked out pretty well for me. So knowing, I think Ivan is one of the top players online. I see him easily to 2200 and above. So knowing that this region has been sealed off, he realized that there wouldn't be any good options to kind of immediately jump in there. So he decided that, hey, why not, let's try to kind of impact that region over here. So he was very clever to kind of use parity to his advantage, h3, and then forced me to defend the edge and then go to the corner. So he himself kind of set up a hyper even number parity, even number theory, or parity, hyper parity over here in a situation whereby if I grab the corner, he would just go in and he would form a 2-square, and if I played either one of those, he would play the other one, and he would force me to kind of come out. So thereafter, probably creating opportunities for him. But usually in such situations, what you want to do is to basically just kind of nail down the corners typically, unless you find a swindle somewhere. You should probably nail down the corner first just to secure it in case you lose access in the future. And for this region, you can probably kind of leave it open for now. So I decided to leave it open and then just to try to find ways to seal off the region below. So in the end, I chose E8, which I believe should have been the best move because he doesn't have access on this diagonal to F7, and at the same time there isn't a risk for such a situation of a swindle to occur because I still have C1 this to kind of retain that access back into A3. So I thought that, typically when you have, typically when you kind of struggle to kind of break out the edges, break out to the edges, what you want to do is actually, if there's a shape like this, this is quite a strong, probability as well that, E8 just kind of playing to your strength and securing the edge could help you in the kind of late mid game to end game situation. So the reason is because these are weak, weak moves for white to play to. And if he only has one move here, then, I thought that I could just kind of intersect back and I would still force him and he wouldn't be able to kind of establish any of this over here. He could do this and then I would still kind of secure the edge at the bottom and still be able to kind of defend the position a little bit on a force parity basis, because if he played here, I would just simply play this. So in my mind, it was more like something like this and maybe this. Oh, sorry, that's black's turn, so I'll be forced to play this. Maybe that would ensue. So yeah, that's the kind of idea to kind of basically just try to secure parity and win in an overwhelming manner. So yeah, in my mind, that was basically what I thought it would be. So I played this, and thereafter he played B A1, and then I went the standard B1 response to kind of secure parity. So after the exchange, so this was an interesting find by Ivan because what he wanted was to basically push me over here and to kind of push me to the edge right here. So I would say it's a great find because he was trying to force me to do something like this and then secure parity this way. So in a way, if I were to do it this way, I would not have parity, but at the same time, I can force swindle myself. So that was pretty interesting of his thinking to kind of secure to this. So that's great. And then over here, I think I missed a very critical move, which is kind of a chance to set up a swindle. I think based on memory, it was something like this. It was meant to kind of play H5, squeeze out, provide the corner access, and at the same time play like a diagonal move here, I think. So even if white plays this, then we can do this and goes this, and basically isolate the G7 square. So even when you go into corner, I'll still be able to get back parity, and then thereafter still kind of win the game. But I think I probably messed something up. Let me just check the AI over here just to be sure. So yeah, so basically I had a plus 22. Okay, so I did play this one first, I think. Let me just move there, and then over here I think I missed it. The plus 22 was here, but I think I played a plus 0. So over here I was meant to close out in this way. So let's see. So basically over here you would play C7, and then even if this was played, then it is fairly simple to kind of close off this. Okay, so I missed it again. Basically, you want to play H5 so that white plays H6, and that changes F4 this to white. And the reason why we can swindle is because C7 cuts away the G3 this, and thereafter F1 is a swindle because black would then control this mini diagonal, and I would be able to make consecutive moves. And in the end game, in such a critical scenario, basically one move would make a lot of difference just to kind of swindle here, and thereafter I would be able to pocket both moves. So that kind of explains why I should have been winning big. But I guess in the tournament basis, I tend to kind of focus on fixed lines, and then I missed that. So I played a +0 actually. So I was really lucky to kind of get away with a win here against Ivan, because basically over here I played this one first because I didn't want to create any this on this side to basically flip. So I want to kind of flip this one first to secure it. So I counted the line and I thought I counted a +2, but apparently it was a +0. But over here I was pretty lucky that Ivan played h6, and then thereafter I was able to kind of win with +2. Just really lucky to get away with this one. So again, good game, Ivan, and congratulations on enjoying the tournament, and hope to see you online again. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining me in this round, and I'll see you at the next round in round 9. Goodbye.